Josh Atkins left Cambridge, England, and moved across an entire ocean to Portland, Oregon, to marry the woman he loves. And what did he get for it? He stood in the corner of a bar at Catie's birthday party and watched her throw herself at one man after another, begging them to kiss her, while every single one of them pushed her away. And this week, Josh finally hit his limit. He looked at Catie and delivered a line that cut straight through every excuse she's ever made. Sorry stops meaning anything after a while. You hear enough sorries and you want to see action. This is the moment 90 Day Fiancé fans have been begging for all season. The most patient man in franchise history finally stood up for himself. And it might be too little, too late. Let's break it all down. Let's start with who these two are, because their origin story tells you everything. Catie Norbo is 26, from Portland, and spent years living as a nomad, traveling the world doing pet-sitting gigs through a house-sitting platform. Josh Atkins is 30, a web developer from Cambridge, England, calm, patient, reserved. And they didn't even meet through mutual attraction. In 2022, while Catie was pet-sitting in the UK, she swiped right on Josh's friend Dave on Tinder. She went out with Dave's friend group, and that night, Dave got kicked out of the bar, so Catie got Josh to walk her home instead. On that walk, they made out on a bench, and then, in her words, she left him peeing in a bush. That's the meet cute. She was into his friend, ended up with him by default, kissed him, and walked off. And honestly, that dynamic has basically defined their entire relationship. They fell in love over the next couple of years, and on February 27, 2024, Josh proposed at sunset on the coast of Turkey. He did the classic fake photo actually a video proposal, and Catie, caught off guard, laughed and said, "I didn't know this was coming, and I want to look cuter," before saying yes. Then Josh gave up his life in England, got his K1 visa, and moved to Portland to build a life with her. But almost immediately, the cracks showed. And they all revolve around one specific issue. Catie has a habit of aggressively trying to make out with people when she drinks. Not a peck, full makeouts. With friends, with strangers, with old flings. And she's attributed it to her OCD. In a confessional, she explained, "I have intrusive thoughts as part of my OCD. When I get drunk, I really want to make out with everyone I know, especially when I'm in a happy mood, or in a really insecure bad mood." Now I want to pause here because this is important. Catie has framed this as a symptom of obsessive-compulsive disorder, a real, serious mental health condition. But a licensed professional counselor named Madeline Thompson-Smith spoke to the Mirror and pushed back on that framing. She was careful to say she can't diagnose Catie without evaluating her. But she explained, generally, that wanting to kiss strangers while drinking because you're feeling happy would not be considered a typical symptom of OCD. She said, "OCD isn't a disorder that makes people lose control or act on random impulses. It's a disorder centered on intrusive thoughts, uncertainty, and anxiety." She explained that the defining feature of OCD is unwanted, distressing thoughts, not happy or pleasant urges, followed by compulsions meant to reduce anxiety. So according to an expert, the desire to make out with everyone when you're in a good mood doesn't really line up with how OCD actually works. And fans online have expressed the same skepticism. Now, here's the birthday party, the incident that broke Josh. According to the episode, Catie got drunk at her own birthday party and aggressively tried to kiss multiple male friends. She asked the room, "Can I kiss everyone?" She leaned into the laps of two different men, asking, "Can we kiss?" Both refused and pushed her away. One flatly said, "No, we're not kissing, Catie." She moved on to her friend Ryan, a man she's hooked up with before, grabbed him, and said, "I want to kiss you." Ryan pulled back and told her she was being crazy. And then there was Mark, another friend who physically had to push her face away from his when she tried to make out with him. Josh stood there and watched all of it. And at one point, Mark actually pulled Josh aside and told him he needed to stand up for himself and give Catie some tough love. And that's exactly what Josh finally did in this week's episode. He sat Catie down and confronted her. She was mortified and apologized. But Josh had heard it all before. He told her, "Sorry stops meaning anything after a while. You hear enough sorries and you want to see action." And then he asked her the question everyone's been wondering. What does she actually think about when she tries to kiss other people despite having a fiancé who loves her? And Catie's answer was genuinely stunning. She said, "I think just, I can love you but also want to kiss everyone else." Let that sink in. Her explanation for trying to make out with other men isn't that she's out of control. It's that she loves Josh and wants to kiss everyone else. Those are two different things. One is a compulsion, the other is a worldview. And Josh clearly heard the difference. He pointed out to her that her guy friends didn't even want to kiss her, that Mark literally had to push her face away. And that's when the reality of the situation started to hit Catie. She broke down in tears. She admitted to the cameras that she's lost friends in the past because of her behavior while drinking. She said, "I will be sad if anyone abandons me. I worry all the time that I'll lose Josh, and I'm worried I'll push them away by my actions." So underneath the chaos, there's clearly a frightened person who recognizes, on some level, that she's damaging the relationships she cares about. Josh's response was measured but firm. He told her she needed to seriously think about whether marriage is what she actually wants before they tie the knot. He said, "I want to see that you really know what that means, and that you see the commitment I'm making to you. I want to feel it in return." And he raised the possibility of going back to the UK if the behavior continues. And here's the solution that basically every fan and even entertainment writers have landed on. It's genuinely simple. If Catie's urge to make out with everyone only happens when she's drunk, then the fix is, don't get drunk around large groups. That's it. Nobody's asking her to give up her friends. Nobody's asking her to never drink. But if she genuinely can't control herself when she's intoxicated, to the point where her friends are pushing her away and she's losing relationships, then simply not drinking heavily in those situations solves the entire problem. Now, here's where it gets even messier, because there's a love triangle forming. At the end of episode 7, Catie's friend Ryan, the one she keeps trying to kiss, said, "Catie and I have had quite a few conversations about what she really wants with her life," and then pointedly added, "There's a reason that this keeps happening, right, Catie?" That sure sounds like Ryan is suggesting there's something real between them. So Josh isn't just competing with Catie's drinking habit, he might be competing with an actual person. And Josh knows exactly what people are saying. He's been active on social media responding to the flood of concerned comments. In one video, he said, "I understand that a lot of you are looking at my relationship with Catie and are just like, what the fuff, I get it." He said he appreciates that people care, but added, "If I get another comment that says run, I think I'm going to lose my mind." Because that's the overwhelming fan response. Here's the twist though. Despite everything, all evidence suggests Catie and Josh are still together, and possibly married. Josh is still living in the United States. He's still active on social media posting photos of Catie. A Reddit user even spotted them together at a Portland food cart recently. Under a K-1 visa, if Josh is still in the country, they almost certainly got married within the 90-day window. So as painful as these episodes are, the couple seems to have found a way through. At least for now. But that raises the real question. Did Catie actually change? Or did Josh just decide to accept it? Because if they got married without solving this, if she's still getting drunk and propositioning her friends after the wedding, then this isn't a happy ending. It's a countdown. Tolerance has a limit, even for someone as patient as Josh. And a marriage where one person constantly forgives the other for public humiliation isn't a marriage. It's an endurance test. Here's where I land. I have compassion for Catie if she's genuinely struggling with alcohol, with self-worth, with whatever is underneath this. But whatever it is, an expert has cast serious doubt that it's OCD. And Josh, the man who left everything to be with her, deserves to be treated with respect, not to be an audience to her chasing other men. Both things are true. And the healthiest version of this only works if Catie takes real ownership of the drinking, and Josh is honest about whether he can actually live with this long term. Because right now, they're calling it an impossible problem, and it isn't. It's just an uncomfortable one, and the fix has been sitting right in front of them the whole time. Should Josh stay, or should he head back to Cambridge? Pop off in the comments, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!